congratulate you all, especially those who were here last night as well. Since many may have thought, well, I had my Hare Krishna for the week, this ecstatic festival. But those who can't get enough of Krishna, that's a sign of great advancement. So we're going to sing our song, Jaya Radha Madhava, and then we'll have a little talk about Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Turn up. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So tonight, hold on a minute, let me get myself together here. Got this, and this, and I should do this. Okay. On this third day of November 2019 in SanDiego, we're speaking at the Krishna Fest, the Sunday festival. And the topic tonight is karma, dharma, and sharma, and their relationship. So, we'll begin, as we should, with reading one of Srila Prabhupada's verses, and at least part of a purport. And this verse, Srila Prabhupada says, is very important for understanding how we transmigrate from body to body in this world. I'll say, you say, Purusha Prakatisto hi Bhunkte Prakati Jangunan Karanam Guna Sangosya Sadasadyo Nijanmasu. The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus he meets with good and evil among various species. Purport. This verse is very important for an understanding of how the living entities transmigrate from one body to another. It is explained in the second chapter that the living entity is transmigrating from one body to another just as one changes one's dress. This change of dress is due to his attachment to material existence. As long as he is captivated by this false manifestation, he has to continue transmigrating from one body to another. Due to his desire to lord it over material nature, he's put into such undesirable circumstances. Under the influence of material desire, the entity is born sometimes as a demigod, sometimes as a man or human being, sometimes as a beast, as a bird, as a worm, as an aquatic, as a saintly man, as a bug. This is going on. And in all cases, the living entity thinks himself to be the master of his circumstances. Yet he is under the influence of material nature. How he is put into such different bodies is explained here. It is due to association with the different modes of nature. One has therefore to rise above the three material modes and become situated in the transcendental position. That is called Krishna consciousness. Unless one is situated in Krishna consciousness, his material consciousness will oblige him to transfer from one body to another because he has material desires since time immemorial. But he has to change that conception. That change can be effected only by hearing from authoritative sources. The best example is here. Arjuna is hearing the science of God from Krishna. The living entity, if he submits to this hearing process, will lose his long-cherished desire to dominate material nature, and gradually and proportionately, as he reduces his long desire to dominate, he comes to enjoy spiritual happiness. In the Vedic mantra it is said that as he becomes learned in association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he proportionately relishes his eternal blissful life. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So that verse comprises the karma section of our little exploration tonight. And karma has different meanings. And like many of these words that have been prominent in Vedic culture for so long, it's entered into the English language. The English language is a big vacuum cleaner. It'll take anything from any language and make it part of the English language. I even looked up in my unabridged dictionary one time. You remember those unabridged dictionaries? They're really thick. They weighed about 20 pounds. I used to have one of those before all the electronic revolution. And I said, I wonder if the word Shudra or Kshatriya has entered into the English language. And sure enough, there it was in this unabridged dictionary way back in the early 90s. And the reason is because Britain ruled India for so many years, and they appropriated some of those words. So the word karma is a popular word. I mean, the idea of what goes around comes around. I mean, that's practically a law, right? Everyone understands that. Which is a simplistic understanding of karma. So karma in the original meaning simply means activity. It just means something you do. It also means an extended meaning is something you do that has a selfish motive. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says we really have to understand these three concepts: karma, akarma, and vikarma. And if you remember that, I think it's in the 4th chapter. And in that context, karma means activity that may be what is probably called fruitive, which means having a personal motive, but is also conducted according to the Vedic regulations. In other words, it's not sinful activity, it's self-centered activity, and it's done in such a way that you may actually improve your situation. There's a whole section of the Vedas called the Karma Kanda section, which is full of all kinds of sacrifices and fasts and charity that will ensure you a better life in your next life, even going up to one of the heavenly abodes. In other words, you can aspire to that, and if you do it just right and you pronounce all the mantras correctly, it's possible to go to the heavenly planets. Krishna describes that in the 9th chapter. But that activity, that fruitive activity of any kind, even if it's not grossly sinful, which is the vikarma section, which really ensures a lot of suffering. Hare Krishna. The problem is he probably can't get into the lecture, and therefore he needs something to occupy his mind, or her mind. I'm sorry, can't tell sometimes. So the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas can improve your material situation. Krishna talks about this in the 9th chapter, as I mentioned. Those who worship me indirectly, following the 3 Vedas, the Karma Kanda section, they can drink the soma juice, and they can go up to the heavenly planets. And there they enjoy godly delights for a long time. Tetam bhukva svargalokam vishanam. Svargaloka means heavenly planets. It's not God. It's not the kingdom of God, but it's the kingdom of gods. And those demigods, they live a very long time, and the situation is very idyllic for sense gratification. But it's not grossly sinful. But even though you may enjoy for a very long time in a much higher standard than we could enjoy here, still, chine punye matyalokam vishanti. There's something called punya that you can accumulate, just like credit in the bank, just like you put money in the bank. And it's pious credits. You get that for sacrifice, for charity, for doing good works, all kinds of things that we commonly call good works in this world. But it's once you go to heaven, then you're drawing on that bank account. You're burning off your good karma. It may take a long, long time, thousands of years or even. But eventually, chine punye, the punya is exhausted. Martyalokam vishanti. And Krishna doesn't mince words, as he's very straightforward in the Bhagavad Gita. You come back to this world of death, martyaloka. In other words, you haven't made any progress in your life's mission of breaking free from the material world altogether and coming to the eternal world beyond birth and death, the spiritual world. That's the Sharma section, which we'll get to eventually. So this idea of karma, in the sense of fruit of activity, this is a very important part of Krishna's teachings. He has a whole chapter called Karma Yoga there, near the beginning in the third chapter. Because that's where we live. We do so many activities for fruit of motives, and this is how we live in this world. Because we're actually living on the basis of a great misconception. And that is that we are this physical body with a certain color, a certain race, language, family, all of that. And that our interest lies in improving our material situation. That's the standard conception. It's a misconception, but that's why we're here. So that misconception is nourished and continued by this self-centered, what probably called fruit of activity, which is karma in the most general sense. So the question is, how can we, even in this situation, perform activities that will gradually liberate us from the bondage of fruit of activity, that keeps us coming back again and again to this material world? Prabhupada described in this verse on the 13th chapter, Purusha prakatistohi. The Purusha is ourselves. A Purusha means a living entity who is, by misconception, trying to be the enjoyer and controller in this world. This is not our actual role. As jiva souls, we are prakriti. We are actually energy, Krishna's energy. What is called the tatastha shakti. Tatastha means in the margin between the spiritual and the material. This is the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, the beginning of his teachings to Sanatana Goswami. This whole movement is founded on the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. That's why we say, those who know the prayer to Srila Prabhupada, Namaste Gauravani Shrimute. I'm sorry. That he's preaching the words of Lord Chaitanya, and thus delivering us, the Western world and the whole world, it turned out. He wrote this when he was in New York, when he just had this one center. From the illusion of impersonalism and voidism. So, what is that? What is that illusion? The illusion is that our identity is tied up with these material bodies, when actually the first lesson of the Bhagavad Gita is that we've lived before and we'll live again. Dehi nosmin yata dehi. We go through this lifetime. All of us can remember when we were maybe 10 years old. Some of you are not 10 years old. I'm sorry. I apologize. But the point is that we can remember our childhood, right? I remember certain things about your childhood. Does anyone not remember something? So now we've grown beyond that. Maybe 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years beyond that or more. You can still remember some things. So who is it that's remembering? Who is it that was there with a different body, little 10-year-old body? Right? And a 10-year-old mind. So many things concern us now that we didn't even imagine in those days. So it's been a continuum. We've actually changed bodies many, many times. It's so slow that we don't notice it, but it's happening, obviously, So that change of body, Krishna says, and this is what we can't see directly, will continue even after death. At the time of death, you go and you get a new body. According to, as we read the verse, how you've associated with the modes of nature. How you've created your consciousness by your activities, your aspirations, the relationships. Very, very complicated. That subtle body does not expire when the gross body expires. Just like everything has an expiration date. So our body has an expiration date, right? It's a big machine. It's going to just break down. So Krishna says, don't, freak. He doesn't use these words, but this is the idea. Don't freak out at the end of the body. It's just a change of dress. He uses that analogy. It's a change of dress. He's speaking to Arjuna to get him off the bodily platform because he is related. He's not fighting. Why? Because suddenly he sees all of his dear relatives on the other side, his worshipable guru, his teacher, and Bhishma Dev, the grandfather, his beloved cousins, the sons of Dhritarashtra, who tried several times to assassinate them. He still has warm feelings toward them. The greatest miracle in the Bhagavad Gita. And he says, I can't imagine killing them. I don't want to live without the sons of Dhritarashtra. He said that, right, in the Bhagavad Gita. I can't imagine. So he's paralyzed. On the one side is Krishna says, are you kidding? We start, this is the battle is about to begin. And then on the other side is his gut reaction, no, I don't want to live. So he's paralyzed, he's torn. He's representing us. Between our emotions and our feelings and our instinctual reactions as embodied beings, identifying with the body, and hopefully what we understand is the right thing to do. So he's torn between Dharma, which he says he's confused about, but he knows that really I should fight, and his feelings, which are conditioned, and he's put into that illusion by Krishna, because we should identify with Arjuna. So what does Arjuna do? He takes that critical step of admitting that I can't figure it out. I'm surrendering to you now, Krishna, as a guru. No more of these friendly talks. We're just arguing back and forth. Now I'm surrendering to you as a shishya, as a disciple, and you please instruct me for certain what is the best thing for me. What is the true Dharma? He says, Dharma sabhuta cheta. I'm bewildered about the right thing to do. This is a basic concern of everyone who's truly part of the Vedic culture. In the West, because it's more and more animalistic, animals don't worry about what the right thing is to do. They wonder, where's the food? Where's the sex? Where's the safety? Right? Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. There's no dharma there. It's instinct, basically. But so we have that animal part of us that has to be controlled and regulated if we want to progress toward sharma. Now let me read my definition of sharma, which I looked up in the dictionary. Shelter, protection, refuge, safety, joy, bliss, comfort, delight, happiness. Don't we want all that? That's the spiritual world in its ultimate sense. The joy, the happiness, the absolute security, that's why it's Vaikuntha. There's no anxiety. No one can kick you out. There's nobody who's out of tune there. Everything is in tune. We had to leave because we created a disturbance. Not so much for Krishna, but for all the other devotees. So going back home, back to Godhead, back to that place of absolute sharma and welfare and protection and bliss is what Dharma is all about. So the true Dharma, this is a major concern in the Mahabharata. The whole second, second part is the Sabha, right? Sabha Parva. They're concerned in that meeting, what is the right thing? What is the right thing to do? You see? And there's this big debate. And so Arjuna is all concerned with that, and we should also be concerned, because that's what differentiates human life from animal life. What is that verse from the Hitopadesh? We can all chant together. Ahara nidra bhayamaitanangshas samanyametat pashabhi samana dharmo hitesham adhiko vishesho dharmaena hina pashabhi samana. Those who know Sanskrit can understand it's simple. We share these four basic animalistic principles. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending with the animals. We may have it very fancy and spend so much money on it, but it's basically the same thing. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. So what is it that differentiates? Dharma. Without Dharma, human life is simply polished animal life. It's not. It's a tragic waste of the treasure of human life. Lord Krishna says in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the 11th canto, Nirdeham adyam sulabam sudurlabam plavam sukalpam guru karana dharam mayanukulena nabasviteditam puman bhavabdim nataret sa atmaha. He says that this human form of life is like a boat, a perfectly constructed boat, to cross over the ocean of birth and death. Now, why is it called an ocean? Because it's dangerous. Because it's unsteady. You don't know what's going to happen next, right? The fires are coming, the earthquakes is coming, some homeless guy is coming, who knows what's going to come from which direction? Some disease. It's like that. To try to find safety and security and happiness on this platform is foolish. It's impossible. Sometimes, instead of compared to an ocean, it's compared to a forest fire. More immediate danger, more insecurity. You see. So Krishna's, but human beings, nirdeham, means the human bodies, are perfectly constructed to cross over that ocean. But we need help in two forms. We need the captain of the ship, and we need favorable winds. It's one of these big sailboats you see about from the 1890s. So the captain of the ship is the spiritual master, the guru. Someone who is realized, who is perfectly knowledgeable of the Shastra, and who is willing to teach and give that knowledge. That's the definition of acharya, which is what Srila Prabhupada was, and all the sincere followers tried to do. And the line that he comes in. So the Guru can give us good instruction, as Prabhupada did profusely in his books and his letters and his lectures and everything, every moment that he had. And the favorable winds, Krishna's speaking of the Vedas, just like in the Bhagavad Gita. So we have all of these facilities. So Krishna says, Puman bhavabdim nataret sa atmaha. That some human being who doesn't use this great opportunity, so rare, we've been through so many different species, there's no hope for this. Now we've come to the human form. So if we don't use it, it says atmaha, it's like killing your own soul. Of course the soul can't be killed, but you can put it off for another 1,000,000 years, go down the species and come back. Why? Why put it off? Why postpone? We have this golden opportunity. So, that Dharma, what is the real Dharma? Now, at the beginning of Krishna says right in the Bhagavad Gita, now I know many of you know this verse, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam sujamyaham. Yeah, that's the next one. Yeah, we're good. They go together. Thank you. So Krishna says, whenever and wherever a dharma rises up, and dharma is eclipsed, there's the discrepancies. At that time, I manifest myself in order to protect the devotees, in order to annihilate the miscreants, and in order to reestablish real dharma. So our question is, how can we use the karma, our activities, because we have all of these senses and mind and everything with the human form and human intelligence. So in what direction should we take? So we consult the Shastra, we listen to the Guru, and we get so much instruction. I'm thinking of that second chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, where the question, just imagine, it's a very dramatic situation, just like we have on the battlefield here, and that is the sages of Naimisharanya have gathered to perform a sacrifice, and to hear the Bhagavatam as spoken by Shukadev and remembered word by word, 18,000 verses, by Sutta Goswami. Just imagine the clarity of mind to hear it once and remember all of that. This is what we had, before we got so confused with all of this modern electronics and everything. So they're listening, and they ask questions. This is part of the process. You ask cogent questions. So it says, what is real Dharma? What is that Dharma by which the soul can be completely satisfied? Which means that it comes to the point of eternal satisfaction. Because one of the problems, the main fly in the ointment for sense gratification is that it's temporary. Adyantamantang konteya nateshu ramate buddha. This is in the Bhagavad Gita 5th chapter. Krishna says he puts the biggest shade on the whole endeavor for sense gratification. sense pleasure, which is what everyone's trying to enjoy. Yehi sangsparjaja bhoga dukkha yonai evate. That very pleasure you're enjoying by your senses, all the five senses, that's the source of your pain, of your misery. That sense gratification has a beginning and an end, and so the wise don't take their pleasure there. It doesn't mean that they renounce pleasure. They don't take their pleasure there. How do they enjoy? Previous verse. How's it go? Bhayasparshes asaktatma vindatyatmani yat sukham sab brahma yoga yuktatma sukham akshayam ashnute. That last line is revolutionary. Sukham akshayam ashnute. They enjoy unbroken happiness. Who? Those who reject the temptations of flickering sense gratification. Bhayasparsheshu means external. Asaktatma, they're not attached. Vindatyatmana yat sukham, they enjoy the happiness within by contacting the reservoir of pleasure, Krishna. Krishna is known as Anandamaya Obhyasat. Anandamaya is a very simple word. It means full of bliss all the time. That's Krishna. You never see, Prabhupada say, you never see Krishna morose, with a headache and anxiety. Oh no, what am I going to do now? He's always ready for dancing pastimes, right? The next pastime. Some demon comes, so that's another chance for him to protect his devotees and enjoy rasa. We just had the Govardhan Leela. What happens when the winds blow around here, and the flood comes? The wind's blowing down the wires and causing forest fires. People have to run. I read this article, a nightmare article, how you have to evacuate the hospitals up there in Northern California. Can you imagine? Somebody's about to give birth and they can't give birth and they put it off, and there's no electricity. Well, this is California. This is the land that we aspire to come to and live, to enjoy, right? What happened? That's the material world. Any time, any place, your life could become a total disaster and no more enjoyment. So, that flickering enjoyment, first thing the problem is, it's temporary, and it brings you back for another term of material life, because you die with those desires, and that desire brings you back. That's your karma. That's how it goes. And it's all under the supervision of higher powers. Karmana daivanetrena. It's the super soul, the devas, keeping track. So we're in a prison house here. It's not a place for enjoyment. It's a place for reformation. And Krishna comes and teaches us how. So, the answer of the Bhagavatam, because the time is limited, is in the second chapter. Sutta Goswami answers that question. First, he praises the question. Very nice question. Muniyaksara pushtoham bhavadbhir lokamangalam. That question is meant for the welfare of everybody, all living entities. Congratulations on the question. Then he answers the question. Savai pungsang parol dharmo yato bhaktir hokshaje ahaitukya patya yayatma supersediti. This is practically a mission statement of the whole Hare Krishna movement. And what he says there is that dharma, what is dharma, first of all? Dharma really is that which is the whole root of the word is dri. The Sanskrit is a very scientific language. Every word has a root, and from that different variations can be created. Just like the word dri is also the root of the word dhari, giri dhari, holding up. Right? Dhari means to... So dharma has the same root. It means that which sustains your existence, which is intrinsic to you, your essential quality. That's it. Like a chair. People are sitting on the chairs over there. So what's the dharma of a chair? All right, well, you sit down, put your weight on it, and it's comfortable, right? You can't sit on the floor, whatever. You don't want to sit on the floor. But suppose you sit down on that chair. I'm not saying it may happen, although you never know. The Chinese chairs, they collapses. Have you ever had that experience? Collapses down on the ground. What kind of chair is this? Has it been booby-trapped? It means it's not meeting its dharma. It's a fake chair, right? You see something that could be sugar or salt, right? So the dharma of salt to be salty, the dharma of sugar to be sweet. If you got a white powder and you tasted it, you think it's salt. I said, that's not salt. One time they put salt in the Charanamrita. Prabhupada tasted it. He was very angry. This is back in 1970. Who put salt in the Charanamrita? One girl raised her hand, she got chastised. It's offensive. But the point is, everything has its dharma. So what is our dharma? Our dharma is to serve. Our dharma is to serve. Meaning that we often don't think of it that way, but think of it this way. We're all breathing here, right? Yeah. If you don't take it, you take it for granted. If for some reason you can't breathe, then you realize I'm always breathing. So we're serving the body by breathing, right? It's essential, right? We have to eat, we have to breathe, we have to sleep. In other words, you have to serve the body. And then when we go to work, we're serving the boss, so we can get some money and support ourselves. The wife serves the husband serves the wife. They both serve the kids. Kids don't serve anybody until they grow up a little bit. But the point is that that's our basic function. That's our dharma. But who we serve and how we serve, it determines our fate. You see? If we're just serving our senses, that means that we're going to get another set of senses, maybe not even human, to keep serving. So that service attitude has to be directed to Krishna. That's our natural... Prabhupada described it. It's just like the hand. We're part and parcel of Krishna. This word anksha. The hand, we don't even think twice. If I want to pick up this water, hope there's some water in there. Yeah. Then I'm thirsty. Think. So the hand does its thing. If the hand suddenly doesn't do its thing and rebels, is paralyzed, that's a problem. It's not meeting its dharma. It's no longer a useful hand, right? So similarly, when we train ourselves under the guidance of the Shastra, the scripture, and the Guru and the saints and sages, to use these very same senses that have been imprisoning us by demanding sense gratification and entangling our consciousness in this world. We use the same senses for connecting to Krishna, then that's real dharma. And what the Sutta Goswami says is that is real dharma, which engenders or furthers pure devotion to Krishna, who is known as Adhokshada, means he's transcendental Lord, beyond the reach of our material senses and mind. And then the key is, what is the quality of that service? Ahoituki and apratiyata. This will fully satisfy the soul. Ahoituki means without material motivation. Now that takes us back to our karma, because that karma is, in its ordinary sense, food of activity with material motivation. So how to act in such a way that we keep our body and soul together, but we're not acting fruitively, and the motivation for our activities is pleasing Krishna. And it's unbroken. In other words, it never stops. 24 hours a day. That's real dharma that brings you to that point. Now, it's not an instantaneous thing. We're so conditioned to act fruitively that it has to be a process, a sadhana. That's why it's a bhakti marga. It's a path of bhakti that leads you to this point. But there's nothing less than that. This was Lord Chaitanya's teachings, and he showed how one can be completely blissful in this lifetime by acting in such a way, centered on the chanting of the holy name. The same tongue, the same ear, the same lungs and voicing is there that we can use for a million mundane vibrations. You use it for chanting the holy name of Hare Krishna. And it purifies. Purifies you of what? Of those material desires. Just like we had this kirtan, standard kirtan, 5:30 to 6 o'clock. Now, I was leading the kirtan, you were answering the kirtan. Was anyone chanting in order to get any, money or anything like that? The sheer joy of it, just to please Krishna, just to relish the holy name. That was the motive. In other words, a hoituki. You see? That's the idea. And when all of our activities are geared toward that, that's why we have, a few of our monks living here. I live a block away. The ideal is that whatever we're doing it for sacrifice. Now this is another point, jagya. In the Karma Yoga section, Karma Yoga chapter in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has this verse. Yagyartat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhana tadatam karma konteya mukta sangha samachara. So a very important point. He says, whatever activity you perform must be done as a sacrifice for yagya. Yagya means sacrifice. But it's also explained in the purport, yagya is another name for Vishnu. So in other words, whatever you're doing, if its purpose is to sacrifice your energy and whatever else you have for pleasing Vishnu or Krishna, then it will not incur any karma. You'll be free of any reaction. And rather, it will diminish and reduce or even eliminate whatever karma you have. Because remember, we have good karma and bad karma, right? In other words, pious credits. You also have sinful debts that you're building up. So all of that is erased, both good, quote good and quote bad. And you're at the stage of akarma or naishkarmya. In other words, you're acting, but there's no material result. The result is that your heart is becoming more and more attracted to Krishna. That is the ultimate goal of life. Prema pumarto mahan. This is Lord Chaitanya's declaration. Pure love for Krishna, which is evidenced and proved by the activities you perform in your life, that's the perfection of life. And it leads you back to Godhead. In this lifetime, you can be perfectly blissful, even though there's threefold miseries and there's all this craziness going on. You can be an island of serenity, just like we saw Prabhupada was. You know, he was transcendental to the modes of nature. He was in the Vaikuntha mood, even in this material world. And he showed. Many of you weren't here on Thursday. We've had 3 main festivals in the last 5 days. Thursday night we celebrated. We observed Prabhupada's disappearance day, and it was quite a nice gathering here. And I read my little offering that I had written. And what I was focusing on, because I've been rereading Prabhupada's biography, this wonderful biography written by one of his earliest disciples, Satsvarup Das Goswami, called the Prabhupada Lilamrita. And it's an amazing book. I highly recommend it. And there's so many instances where Prabhupada, he risked his life to spread this Krishna consciousness. Just getting on the boat. Just imagine this. You know, I'm a little bit older than Prabhupada was physically. He was 69 when he got on that boat, and I'm 71 now. And you know, I mean, I've been in this movement for a long time, but we got our props. You know, I have a little room that I stay in, and everyone's got these. So I can't imagine. Just imagine going to a strange land, going to India. All right, for me, India is like, for me, India, it was like what Prabhupada, how he felt toward going to New York, an alien land. What am I going to find there? Because I've been to India, so it's not even like. But to go, no money, you don't know anybody there, basically, and you're just going in order to preach, a philosophy that no one's ever heard about and everything. It's like, in fact, his patron said, "No, I'm not going to give you a free ride on the ship." She owned the shipping line, Sumati Maraji. You're just going to go to die over there. You're not well enough. So Prabhupada wasn't about to give up. He had a sit-in. He sat on her front step, basically, and chanted Hare Krishna for hours and hours and days until finally she let him in the office and he convinced her. So he went. That was just one instance. Then he's, for a whole year or more, he's wandering in New York City. I lived in New York. Even having an apartment and a job, which I had, was like, it's not a very, very secure place to live, especially in the 60s. And, Prabhupada just lands there. He lives in the walk-up in the Bowery, where we have all these homeless people. Imagine this place, this all derelicts, homeless people there. And he's just going from day to day and chanting Hare Krishna, beating a little bongo drum. There's no mridungas, there's nobody. And then his roommate goes nuts on LSD and starts threatening Prabhupada. He has to run out of the apartment with the clothes on his back. He had one phone number he called. Look at the guy let him. And then after finally starting the movement, he goes to San Francisco where things really exploded. It was the summer of love. Krishna arranged that he would be there just in that summer of 67. Anyone who knows the history, by 1968, the drug of choice had changed to amphetamines from pot, and everyone was on edge, and it became a whole different mood. Anyway, I won't go into that. But he came just at the right time, 1967, flower power, everybody's looking for God. And the seeds were planted, and it really was nice. So he very, Prabhupada is like a young man. He's so excited. Listen to those lectures from that time. And he comes back to New York. He's going full speed. He has a stroke, and he ends up in the hospital. Devotees he has 2 centers, San Francisco, and Prabhupada said, just chant Hare Krishna, 24 hours. So the devotees were chanting. You can imagine the love and this desperation they were chanting with. Amazing. So he survived, obviously, somehow, but he needed to recuperate. He goes back to so this keeps happening. He had a head-on collision in Mauritius. Maybe you didn't know that. In a car. A couple of seconds before he braced himself, he seemed to know it was coming. The Naxalite terrorists, communists who are still around in Bengal, some of you may know from India, they threatened Prabhupada, fly or die. He was going to have a Pandal program. In other words, get out or we're going to and they'd already assassinated so many people. And Prabhupada, he disarmed them. They came to the Pandal, the rowdy. He said, give him some seats of honor, give him some prasadam. He's chanted the Brahma Samhita. He met with them. He explained the spiritual communism that he was trying to develop. Oh, really, communism? Yeah. In this way, he dealt with it. He didn't fly. He was ready to die. So this is going on, Prabhupada is sacrificing for us, ready to risk his life on that basis, out of compassion and love to give us the greatest jewel. So we should take that and we should, try to incorporate it, the process. It's whatever level you can. And come and realize that this is real Dharma. This chanting of the holy name, using these very senses, the same tongue, the same ear, for connecting to Krishna, hearing the holy sound, the Bhagavad Gita. The internet is the worst thing and the best thing. It's such a source if you know what buttons to press and how to search kirtans and lectures. Go to ISKCON Desire Tree, perfectly named. Just the audio section. All the leaders of ISKCON, there's a whole section, of course, Prabhupada's full lectures are there, and you have all the leaders, Shivaram Swami and Indradyumna Maharaj and so many others. All the lectures you can listen to. You can bathe his consciousness. So the access is there. This is the age of access. Any book you want, read, database.com, of course you try to have them for your home. So the idea is that we can come to this point of sharma, of joy and bliss and comfort and delight, even in this world, and have great hope for future life. Otherwise, there's no hope. To try to live in this world in a peaceful, joyful way is simply a fool's errand. It's impossible. And I read an article. Of course, you can poo-poo this, but if you look at the science. The climate catastrophe, all these things. Somebody predicting that there'll be human extinction by 2026. Now that may be a little exaggerated, but read the science. Don't poo-poo it till you read it. In other words, there's an urgency about it. Some of us are old enough, and maybe not even 2026. But the point is, whatever time we have between now and we leave this mortal coil, as Prabhupada would call it, which is very dramatic and poetic. We should dedicate it to, as much as we can, to practicing Krishna consciousness, which has been given to us so very systematically. And the activity, the karma, should be used in practice real dharma, so that we can come to actual sharma, which is, even in this lifetime, to be joyful and peaceful and assure our passage back to Godhead. So, there's a little time for questions or comments, if we have any. I didn't explain karma? Vikarma. You want to know about Vikarma? Vikarma simply means very sinful activity. We have Lord Rishabdev, he explains it all. Nunam pramatta kurote vikarma yadindriya pritaya apanoti nasadu manye yata atmanoyam asannapi kleshada asadeha. He says, certainly it's true that those who are simply concerned with sense gratification are performing all this vikarma, which is sure to produce so much suffering. So they must be mad. Nuna pramatta, not just mad, totally mad. Pramatta kurote vikarma. Indriya priti. Indriya priti translates exactly as sense gratification. So what do you see around it? It's like a fish swimming in water. He doesn't know from water. So he said, what is sense gratification? It's everything you see around you. In other words, we're swimming in it. This is a revolutionary movement. The greatest revolution is Prabhupada said, if they really knew what I was doing, they would arrest me. Because he's undermining the basis of the whole capitalist system, which is to fire up the material desires more and more. So as I said, I don't know if I read this somewhere, to buy more and more things you don't need with money you don't have. So they get you in the debt, and once they get you in the debt, and you have to slave in order to pay the banks. Live simply, as simply as possible. Simple living, high thinking. There's an ocean of pleasure in Krishna consciousness. I'll give you a sample. Okay? These shlokas, this mantra, the Maha Mantra, is unlimitedly, full of nectar. But but at the same time, there's also unlimited other expressions that are great acharyas. I love this line in the Sixth Goswami song. It says, Papo tapana krintano tanubatam govinda ganamritai. The six Goswamis, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan, Raghunath, all the others, they are cutting off, they are relieving the tremendous suffering of the modern people, which is due to extreme sin. Papo tapa nakrintano. How? Govinda ganamritai, by pouring down nectarian songs about Govinda. So here's one such little verse. These verses, you can take them as jewels. I learned this verse 35 years ago. But it's ever fresh. You see? It says, Uradi katamodadi tatabangam, navajaladadikinano rasadangam, yuvati vadayadatamanatatadangam, panamatayamanatatikatadangam. This is Sanskrit. It says, his flute emanates entrancing sounds for the cowherd girls whose love abounds for the clever cloud-complexioned lord who's dancing upon the Kalindi shore. Now maybe that's a little too rich for you. But why not? Madoram madoram vapadasya vibho madoram madoram vadanam madoram madogandi madusmitameta daho madoram 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 madoram. Everyone knows that, at least half of that verse already. You know what madoram means? Sweet. Half of the words are sweet. Madoram. Sweet, sweet is my dear Lord's form. Sweet is still his face so fair, but his honey-scented gentle smile is sweet beyond compare. Now, because of our contaminated consciousness, the first thing is we don't believe. I don't believe in God. You people are worshipping some statue, you're nuts. Let me go to the bar down and have some fun. They don't understand. But someone who's chanting Hare Krishna a little bit, you can appreciate, you hear about Krishna, last night we had this wonderful festival. Yeah, it's all real. He lifted up the hill for 7 days. So that's a little taste of your sharma there. But it requires that you give up your absorption in the lower pleasures, because that kills it, Then you become covered. Your conscience is covered. Hare Krishna, can't concentrate, it doesn't mean anything. It means everything. Anyway, this is Prabhupada's great gift. He imparted faith because he was he was there. You could see that he was at a different level. He could impart that faith. Enough so that you begin the chanting and you associate with devotees. And that's our actual Dharma. And that's how it works. And it's going on all over the world. It's true. It's the only thing, believe me, it is the only process that can save this world from its seemingly hell-bent path that it's on right now. Nothing else. No plans. We're reading in the fourth canon now about Maharaj Prithu. Prabhupada's giving these purports that could be taken from the headlines. He's saying when the rulers become like animals, then the praja, the citizens, suffer like anything. And it's exactly what's happening today. But the countervailing force, it has to start in the heart of everybody. It's consciousness revolution. That's the where it is. And that's what Prabhupada started. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness. You can tap into the pleasures of Krishna consciousness. You can become indifferent. You're living here. My wardrobe cost me like $100 for 5 years. And they only have to get new ones when they finally wear out. And then I'm serving out the feast and I get some tomato sauce on it or something. But so I've completely cut off all of the attractions of the fashion industry. Who cares? You know how much money I've saved on haircuts for 45 years? I can retire with that money. $10,000 or more. Who cares? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. What does Rupa Goswami say? They show the perfect example. We'll end here because almost. have another kirtan. So here's Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and Raghunath Das Goswami. They were extremely wealthy. Raghunath Das was like a billionaire. He was going to inherit unlimited wealth, And but then he met Lord Chaitanya and he met Nityananda, and all he could think about is how I can break free and go to Lord Chaitanya in Puri, right? So, but Rupa and Sanatan, they were right and left hand of the king. They were mixing with the power and the money that they had was unconceivable. They met Lord Chaitanya. All they could think of was how I can get out. Lord Chaitanya ordered them, you go to Vrindavan, So they're able to break free. They had tremendous knowledge. They were actually great Brahmins, So, what is Rupa Goswami? He reveals how he's tasting the holy name. Now we're all chanting Hare Krishna. We wouldn't be sitting here to some degree. We're chanting. So how does he experience? And he's assuring us we can experience that too if we become purified. When Lord Chaitanya heard this verse, he went into ecstasy. Akarna krodha kadammani gadayate karnarbhude bhakspiham. Chetak prangana sangini vijayate saravendriyanam kutim. No jane janitaki yad vinamitai krishneti varnadvahi. Haridas Thakur also, the Namacharya, he was dancing in ecstasy. Says, I don't know how much nectar these two syllables, Krishna, have produced. When I chant them, they seem to dance within my mouth. I want to have millions of mouths to taste the sweetness of the holy name. And when they enter the ears, they seem to sprout. I want to have millions of ears to hear that holy name. And when they enter into the courtyard of the heart, all of the senses become stunned, and my mind becomes completely fixed on Krishna. The sweetest of the sweet. Now we're telling, okay, I got to finish my round. But really, to experience the holy name, it's non-different from Krishna. It is Krishna. It's inconceivable. So how merciful is that? Krishna has made himself available in his holy name. Anybody, anytime, any place, anywhere can chant that name and become purified. That's the reality, and that's the real Dharma of the age, the Sanatana Dharma. That'll take us back to God. Okay, thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. We'll have another kirtan and Sunday feast.